In this video, I'm going to be explaining and showing to you the frameworks for fat loss and effective strategies that you can use for sustainable weight management and of course, overall health improvement. So if you're someone who wants to lose weight, they want to lose fat, they want to look better, they want to feel better, keep watching this video because I'm going to break down exactly how you can get there. So the first thing we're going to talk about is something called intermittent fasting. Some of you might have heard of this before, some of you may not have. So I'm going to really break it down for you right now. There are 24 hours in a day, usually between 13 to 16 hours of not eating anything, no matter what time of the day it is. Your body goes into a state of ketosis, which means that it starts to burn off fat for fuel and energy during the day that you have on your body, instead of using the food that you eat to maintain those energy levels. So what we need to do then is eat during a window of 8 hours, which is going to be the most optimal, and then fast for the remainder of it. That is just the general basis. Of course, these time periods can change, but that is the general kind of advisory for intermittent fasting. So the concept of intermittent fasting is as follows. You want to be eating larger meals within that limited eating window so that your body can digest that food and essentially keep you fuller for longer. This is going to have benefits such as easier calorie management, and it's going to promote health benefits like longevity of your life, which we want, right? Tips that I can give you are going to be to use caffeine. You're going to want to stay distracted by maybe working, by maybe spending time with people so you don't feel the need to eat, or you can reframe your hunger. So what do I mean by reframing your hunger? I mean that instead of thinking that you need to eat, do some other productivity or something else where you can take your mind off eating and see it as something that you don't need, but something as a tool, and only use it when you absolutely need it, okay? What I would also recommend in this section is that you focus on meals that are going to be highly nutritious, your greens, things like veggies, things like fruits, because those are the things that are going to keep you fuller for longer. Also, things that are really going to help you with intermittent fasting is having things like black coffee, which is low in calories. And also, I would recommend hydrating yourself to the highest level, making sure that you're always having a glass of water at least sort of every couple hours, okay? That will be great. So next we're going to talk about the fasting window management. So what time should you have your first meal? What time should you start to eat? Well, what am I doing, right? Don't worry, we're going to break it down right now. So meal timing is also going to be important within this concept. So if you have breakfast, make sure it's between 12 and 2 p.m. and definitely avoid eating 3 hours before bed to give yourself the best chance in going to sleep. 3 hours is the absolute maximum. You can eat, let's say, 2 hours before you go to bed or 1 hour, but just make sure it's no less than that. Otherwise, you're really gonna feel the effects, struggle to even sleep later in the day, and your body's not gonna be able to go into that state of ketosis during the morning and afternoon hours. So make sure that you have your food 3 hours before you go to bed if you're doing intermittent fasting. Also remember that hunger comes in waves, usually every 20-minute waves. So if you feel hungry at a certain time, wait 20 minutes and see if you still feel the same. I would also recommend having a glass of water in the meantime, maybe having 2 glasses of water, and see if you feel hungry after 10, 20 minutes. If you don't, you know you can continue. If you do, maybe it's time to have some food, but try to refrain for as long as possible. And what I like to do with a lot of my clients, and some of you that are watching might already be doing this because we've instilled it into your plan and your regimen, we will usually build up the amount of time that you can go without food to increase the chances of you burning the fat in your body and reaching that state of ketosis. So you might not be able to go straight from, let's say, 5 hours of not eating all the way up to 10 straight away. So we'll need to build up in stages. So every week we'll improve that. So you don't have to just completely change your whole diet straight away and go from eating pretty regularly to only eating in an 8-hour window, because that might be quite unrealistic for some of you that do have quite bad eating habits. So gradually building towards that point is going to be the answer in a lot of cases for you. We also have productivity, as I talked about. So reframing your hunger in order to not think about it, essentially, right? If you're productive, you're not really going to be thinking about food, okay? And often more times than not, the way that our body works as human beings and as essentially animals is we are only going to eat if we've earned it. So this can actually help you mentally as well. Of course, years ago, we had to hunt for food. That DNA has gone nowhere. That's still within us right now. So it can actually help with your work productivity generally. If you are hungry, just work, okay? You're gonna feel more switched on, you're gonna feel more alert, and then reward yourself with some food. That's a very healthy way to go about it because you've earned it. We also need to make sure we're having a high protein diet because not only is it gonna help repair the muscle that you do from your workouts, but it's also gonna keep you fuller for longer. Prioritizing high protein foods is gonna help with this. So the benefits of this is, as I said, it's gonna keep you full. It's got a high thermic effect as well, which means that it's essentially harder to overeat. Sources of that protein are gonna be your lean proteins like chicken, like turkey, like fish, and of course protein powders as I would say last resort. If you have protein powders every day, just make sure it's not consuming your whole meals for the day and you'll be absolutely fine, okay? We then also have the protein intake guidelines that I've set up for you guys. The recommended amount of protein that you should be getting is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That is the general guidelines in order to build muscle and maintain a good weight, okay? It's also a known fact that the more muscle you have on your body, the less fat you will have because of it. So if you're building muscle, you're still going to be losing fat at the same time. And of course, to retain as much muscle as possible on your body, you need to be having 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight. If you work in kilograms, it's 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight, just so you know. Obviously, I talked about the lean proteins that you can be having. The best sources are going to be your chicken breast, your turkey breast, your fish. If you're vegetarian or vegan or whatever the case may be, you can also opt for something like some tofu or other alternatives that are gonna, maybe called vegan chicken or vegan turkey or whatever the case may be. That's still gonna be fine, okay? We then have supplements. So protein powder can be used, as I said, if necessary. If you're trying to hit your protein goal, maybe you can't hit it, use it as a supplement, use it as what it's meant to be. Don't use it as the main source of your protein intake, but use it as something that you're gonna utilize if you can't quite get in the protein from your daily intake of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Usually my busy clients will have a supplement added to their diet because they simply don't have time to cook, or they simply don't have time to make a meal for themselves or even look for a meal. So just having a protein shake or a protein bar, something like that on hand is really going to boost you to the high protein level to help you to lose fat. The next thing we want to do, which a lot of you guys definitely already do to some extent, and quite frankly, it's probably an addiction, if we're being quite honest. Avoid deep fried foods. So that's going to fall under fast food, okay? So avoid doing that, minimizing it as much as possible, because it's going to result in excessive calories. Deep fried foods and things like fast food are going to give you more calories, which is going to be harder to lose weight. Of course, if you're trying to lose weight, we need to be in a calorie deficit. A calorie deficit is where you burn more calories each day by doing physical activity than you are eating and consuming. That is what we want to achieve. So if we're eating excessive calories, having fast food, having deep fried foods, we're really gonna make it harder for ourselves to lose that fat, okay? And lose that weight. Low nutrition. Less nutritional value compared to alternatives. That is a problem with deep fried foods as well. You're not gonna have the nutritional value, which is not gonna keep you full for a long period of time. So it's already two things right there that are not great. And of course, if you want to know some alternatives to the deep fried food, choose grilled, baked, or steamed options because they might actually taste exactly the same or very, very close to being the same, but they'll be a little bit better for you just because of the way that they're cooked. So if you can avoid deep fried foods, please make sure you do. It's going to help with your weight loss. We then have a really good example that I've created here of having low to no alcohol consumption, and this is exactly why. So as we can see here, we have the alcohol type, which is a shot or a pint of beer. These are usually the options that you'll find if you're out, and at least one of you probably have one of these each week, okay? We then have the calories that it's gonna give you. If you're having 3-4 pints, you're already gonna be at over 1,000 calories. That's not going to be fun. If you're having shots and you're having 4 or 5 shots, you could be at 500 calories already added to the food that you've had in the day. Is that going to help with your weight loss? Is that going to help with your fat loss? Absolutely not. So if we can avoid having alcohol and limiting it to at least 1 day in the week if possible, if not completely getting rid of it, that is going to be the best possible case for your future health and longevity of your life. So I would personally recommend avoiding it at all costs. Of course, we have alcohol's impact on weight loss and fat loss in, I guess you could say, a timeline right here. Increased calorie intake is, going to happen quickly because of the alcohol, which is going to mean sleep impairment, affecting your quality of sleep and your recovery. It's going to impair the muscle growth because of that, and also it's going to negatively impact your overall fat loss efforts. Look how many things there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is going to be a negative impact on your fat loss because of alcohol. Stay away if you can. And that is really the last slide that I'm going to be showing you guys, because some of you might really struggle with having the habit of having alcohol. And if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to lose fat, please make sure you avoid it, because you're going to experience so much more benefits in your overall health and quality of life.